Okay, thank you. I will call the meeting to order. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Cressman, seconded by Susan, that the Heritage, Wilmot and Castle Kilbride Advisory Committee meeting on February the 11th, 2025 be called to order at 7 p.m. Next, we'll move on to introductory training. So I'll introduce myself. I'm Caitlin Boss, the Municipal Clerk for the Township of Wilmot. And today we're just going to go over a few items. We're going to talk about the role of an advisory committee, the role of citizen committee members, that of council members and council, as well as staff who participate in these meetings. We'll speak briefly on meeting procedures, including agendas, disclosure of pecuniary interest, debate and discussion, motions, voting, and minutes. I will also, at the end of the presentation, touch briefly on the Code of Conduct and the Conflict of Interest Act as it applies to your role on the committee. This presentation will be circulated at the end of the meeting as well. The Heritage and Castle Kilbride Advisory Committee is comprised of members of the public who are appointed by council to provide advice and recommendations to council within their respective jurisdictions, mandates, and terms of reference relating to the Township of Wilmot. So these include the Ontario Heritage Act. So the Township of Wilmot established a bylaw under Section 28(1) of the Ontario Heritage Act 1990, which states that council established the committee to advise and assist on matters relating to Part 4 and 5 and such other heritage-related matters. Currently in Ontario, there is roughly 154 municipal heritage committees out of 414 municipalities. This committee also deals with the standards for community museums in Ontario as set by the Ministry of Heritage, Sport, Tourism and Culture Industries. The community museums, such as Castle Kilbride, are required to follow standards set by the ministry, including governance standards, financial standards, collection standards, and more. The Township of Wilmot has adopted a terms of reference which was circulated to committee members. This lays out the committee's purpose and scope, composition and reporting, quorum requirements, and responsibilities of advisory committee members. For the roles and responsibility of citizen members, you are volunteers. You are appointed based on subject matter knowledge and expertise. You are a voting member on the committee. You are enabled to participate fully in debate and discussion. You have a responsibility to disclose any direct or indirect conflicts of pecuniary interest, which I will provide further explanation to that later in the presentation. And you are not authorized to speak on behalf of the advisory committee or the township. There is later in the meeting, going to be an appointment of a chair and a vice chair. The role of these positions, you are appointed by your fellow members. You preside over the meeting. You facilitate discussion and debate. You ensure that the orders of business are dealt with in the proper order and in an effective, efficient manner. You also have a duty to report any issues occurring with committee members to staff liaisons. Our council representative, appointed by his peers, is Councillor Cressman. He is a voting member. He cannot be chair or vice chair. He is enabled to participate fully in debate and discussion and voting. He also has a duty to disclose any direct or indirect pecuniary interest, and he serves as an essential link between the advisory committee and council. I will also note that the mayor is ex officio on all of township committees, and should she choose to attend, she does have voting rights and full membership rights. The staff liaisons and committee administrators have the following roles. They are subject matter experts. They present staff reports and recommendations. They answer questions on subject matter. They are a critical resource to the committee. They are non-voting participants, and they prepare agendas and minutes for the committee. The agenda is a legislative requirement under the Municipal Act to provide notice to the public on the items which are going to be discussed at the meeting. The agendas are set 10 days before the meeting date, and they are circulated by staff liaisons. They are publicly available before the meeting on the township's website. They are circulated to you electronically, and they will include a list of items under consideration and reports relating to the business of the committee. At meetings, this is where we where debate and discussion takes place. The chair will help facilitate that, and each member has an equal opportunity to take part in the debate and discussion. The topics and the discussion should be related to the item under consideration on the floor, and at all times, committee members should remain respectful of one another throughout their discussions as well. You will see when we provide agendas that staff provide recommendations in the report. This will be based on their professional opinion and will be listed on the agenda. Motions can be made by committee members during the meeting. This may be amendments or otherwise, but this is a way for a committee member to bring forward a motion for consideration to the table. All motions must be moved and seconded, written in the positive, and related to the subject matter. Voting, as discussed, every member has a vote and voting is required. During committee meetings, we will vote by show of hand. A motion will fail if it lands on a tie vote. Anyone who refuses to vote will be considered to vote in the negative, and the chair at the conclusion of the vote will announce the result. The minutes are going to be in parliamentary style, and they record actions and decisions of the advisory committee without note or comment. They are not intended to be a transcription of the meeting. They will be, in essence, the decisions made by the committee. All of the recordings are available, though, should a member of the public or a member wish to go back and watch the discussion. The minutes will be electronically distributed to members following the meeting and available on the township website. The Code of Conduct for committee members is mandated by the Municipal Act and I believe was circulated to members. It establishes a common basis for acceptable conduct. These standards are designed to provide a reference as a guide and a supplement to the legislative parameters for members of committees. The Township of Wilmot's Code of Conduct has been approved by Council and is a general standard that augments the provincial laws, municipal policies, and bylaws that govern the committee members' conduct. The Code of Conduct is enforced by our Integrity Commissioner, who is available to provide advice to members and is our investigator for any complaints against the Code of Conduct. I will remind members it is their responsibility to read, follow, and understand the Code of Conduct. And I will also note that staff cannot provide advice on the Code of Conduct, and that will be the Integrity Commissioner whose information will be circulated. Conflicts of interest are governed by the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. It states in our Code of Conduct as well that it is a responsibility of individual members of local boards to ensure that they are aware and trained in the application of the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. The onus is on the member to identify a conflict of interest, and he or she shall take the appropriate action to disclose/identify the existence of a conflict in favor of his or her public duty. It is a legislative requirement and an individual responsibility of each member to declare direct or indirect conflicts of interest. This includes perceived conflicts. Perceived conflicts can be defined as financial gain or loss to the member directly or indirectly. I would reference and send you to the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act for more information on those. As a best practice, conflicts should be identified at the start of the meeting, as outlined in your meeting agenda. The declaration must also be followed with a written disclosure filed with the municipal clerk. There is an online form for disclosures that I will send the committee members following this meeting. Disclosures of conflicts are recorded on the Township's Conflict of Interest Registry that is available on the Township's website to support open and transparent governance. I will reiterate, Township staff cannot and will not provide a member with advice on whether or not you have a direct or indirect conflict of interest. The liability under the Conflict of Interest Act falls on the individual. The Township will advise you to seek your own legal advice if you have a concern with respect to a certain item. No township staff, either in development services or out of the office of the municipal clerk, are permitted to give any legal advice relating to conflict of interest. So in that case, what do? You contact our integrity commissioner. Council has appointed ADR Chambers, Ben Drury, as our integrity commissioner. They are available to all of council and committee members for advice on this matter. They are an external accountability officer who is permitted to provide this advice. Ben's services can be accessed by either phone or email, and any member of the committee may reach out to him for advice. So in addition to providing advice on the code of conduct and conflicts of interest, our integrity commissioner also conducts the investigations into alleged breaches of the code or in relation to the conflict of interest. That is the conclusion of my very quick governance review. I'm happy to take any questions, and my contact information can also be circulated with the rest of the material from this evening. Councillor Cressman? Can you use your mic, please?
I assume I have to go through you. Question about Provincial Museum Act. Since the castle is a federal museum, does it, or isn't it? No, you're shaking your head, so.
I would defer that question.
Sure. The castle does have a national designation. However, we have to follow Ontario standards, and we have to meet those standards in order to receive the Community Museum Operating Grant each year.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Yes?
I was just wondering, I don't know if this is necessary or not, but I know in the past the Integrity Commissioner has done workshops. So I don't know. I'm sort of familiar with the Integrity Commissioner, but the others may not be. And it may have changed since I sat in this seat previously.
Thank you. So we did have our Integrity Commissioner provide a presentation to our committees of council and council last year. That training is available through our website, and I can send a link to the recording of that video as well. Okay, if there's no further questions, we'll continue on to item 3, and I will be assisting with the appointment of the chair. So I would open it up to the floor if there is any volunteers for the chair position or any nominations. And I will note that staff liaisons and committee administration do provide chair notes and assist in this process. You will be helped throughout it. I can take time as well to help you if the chairing part is what makes you nervous, but it's really just kind of working our way through the agenda and ensuring that we get movers and seconders and kind of keeping us on track with debate. I can promise it's not that intimidating. And the other alternative, if we cannot find a chair and a vice chair, is we will do a rotation of all members. Would anyone like to nominate a fellow member?
I'll nominate Kristen.
Okay, that nomination was declined. Is there any further nominations? There is one committee member who is not in attendance this evening. I would defer that question to Kim.
I think we lost 4 or 5 members and we've gained 2. The other member is Wade Brown. He's not in attendance tonight, but I did reach out to him through email, seeing if there was any interest in being chair of this committee. He did not respond, so I would take that as potentially no interest or not a strong desire.
Just a suggestion, could we do a rotation and allow some of the new members to get their legs under them, and then once they realize this is not an onerous task, that possibly they would consider it at some point, or do we have to have someone in the chair?
That was a discussion that Clerk Boss and I were having. Also, just to further on the chair notes, so for tonight, there is speaker notes that essentially verbatim what needs to, the recommendation, and it's highlighted in red, so maybe it's something that's intimidating, but perhaps if it's just again, so that other people can kind of get a feel for this committee. It is a lot to ask for new members. I recognize that, to step up to that. Perhaps just having someone, fill that role for maybe today or even 2 meetings, and then we can have someone else potentially step into the role if that person feels like they no longer want to do it.
Given Al is not going to be the permanent chair, and given he has I better not say that, considerable experience, that he would fulfill the temporary role as chair.
As long as it doesn't become more than temporary. And what does temporary mean? I'd be willing to chair tonight's meeting.
Perfect. So Councillor Cressman has put that on the floor. Do we have a seconder to have Al chair this evening's meeting? Okay, seconded by Kristen. All in favor? That carries unanimously. Okay, so we are going to skip item 4, appointment of the vice chair, seeing as no one wanted to be chair, unless someone would like to be vice chair. Okay, and then we will continue on with agenda item 5, and Al, you will assume the position of chair for this evening's meeting. Thank you.
Okay, as mentioned, I will chair tonight's meeting. I know Kirsten. I don't know.
Matt.
Matt?
Yes.
I'm Al. And Colleen I know, and Susan I know. So welcome. I think you'll find this a very enjoyable committee to be on. Lots of interesting things, starting on Saturday. I guess we'll start, and I'll read the land acknowledgement for this evening. I believe we usually do this on rotation, so I'm sure Cameron will have a rotation set so that each week someone else will read the land acknowledgement. We have gathered in Wilmot Township on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Mississauga peoples. We also want to acknowledge the importance of the Dish with One Spoon Covenant, a peace agreement made between Indigenous nations before the Europeans arrived. It characterizes our collective responsibility to each other and Mother Earth. We should take only what we need, leave enough for others, and keep the dish clean. By acknowledging this covenant and the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, we are reminded of our important connection to this land where we live, learn, and work together as a community. Okay, see, we have a recommendation here, which I kind of jumped ahead of, but that's okay. We have a recommendation here that the acknowledgement which I just read be read at the start of our subsequent meetings. So could I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Kirsten, seconded by Matt. Thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Next, we have the minutes of our last meeting, which was in December, I believe.
December 10th.
Yeah. I'll take a motion and mover and a seconder to get that on the floor.
So moved.
Moved by Stuart, seconded by Colleen. Any errors or omissions or comments about the minutes? I don't think there was any action that we had to follow up on. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor accepting the minutes? That's carried. Thank you. Next, we have a schedule of meetings to take us through until the end of the year. And that was circulated with our package.
We are jumping slightly ahead. Item 7.
Item 7, did I jump over one?
They weren't printed.
Oh, I have to turn the page.
Yes.
See, now you know. All right. This is important because we just heard about this. Does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act? Okay, seeing none, we'll then go on to Heritage Wilmot business. So item 7.1 is a Heritage Day update. Cameron, or who's speaking? Cameron, okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Acting Chair. Yeah, just to provide a brief update on Heritage Day 2025 for our new members especially. Well, one of our members is going to be speaking at the event, which we're very excited about and very thankful for. For those who don't know and those who are watching, Heritage Day is Saturday, February the 15th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Admission is free. And it's at the New Dundee Community Center. So this year's theme is celebrating Wilmot's families and the 175th anniversary of Wilmot Township being incorporated. So there's a program for the day that we've published on our website. So again, we have a variety of speakers that day, and obviously a variety of exhibitors on those themes that I had outlined. And the New Dundee Women's Institute will be providing lunch for purchase. Again, as I mentioned, the event is free itself, so we're hoping for a good turnout again this year. In the previous event, we had nearly 200 attendees, so it was a fairly successful event, and this is our second year in a row doing it on the Family Day weekend. And yeah, we have a variety of exhibitors. I'm sure Sherry would like to speak to that a little bit once I'm finished talking, but we'd love to see all committee members there if you're available. There is a Heritage Day subcommittee that was carried over from the previous term of the committee, and so we've been meeting with them and identifying tasks, and they posted printouts of the posters for advertising Heritage Day, and we've done a variety of other things in organizing the planning. So we've been hard at work, and we're looking forward to the event coming this Saturday, and look forward to everyone being there, if you can make it.
I guess I can speak to the exhibitors that are coming. We have about 7 organizations that are coming. We've got anywhere from the Waterloo Historical Society, the Maryhill Historical Society. Kristen is coming to talk about the New Hamburg book. And I'm sorry, I should have written them all down in front of me because it's a great lineup. And then we have about 5 individuals that are coming to discuss their family histories. So we're quite excited to welcome everybody on Saturday.
Thank you, Sherry. Any questions? Colleen?
I was just wondering if we were able to find any giveaways for the 175th. We discussed that at the meeting, and we were at the...
So we will be providing the exhibitors with basically a goodie bag of Wilmot Township themed items. So that's kind of ties into the theme. So as a little thank you and a thank you gesture to those who have come out and volunteered. Yeah, again, we have a goodie bag of all Wilmot Township themed items. I don't want to give it away. We have one of the members here, but Wilmot Township pen, pins, some coasters, a mug and things like that. So it's all Wilmot themed there. So.
We also have maps that have been printed as well that we'll be asking Wilmot residents to put on where they live on these maps. So we've got one of the entire township, and then we've got one for New Dundee, New Hamburg, and Baden.
No, do I? I know when we did the mill one, we had little dots. Is that what you were thinking of doing?
Yeah, so we've actually got colored Post-it notes so that they can write what their family name is and then stick it on. And we've also got some thumbtacks too if it doesn't quite hold.
Okay, good. Just a question, and hopefully we don't have to deal with this, but the weather person has been really active in the last little while, and we know we're supposed to get, potentially snowed on tomorrow, but they're also saying about Saturday. When do we make a call, and who makes the call?
Yeah, so we'll make that determination closer to the date, but yeah, unfortunately, we've ran into a very similar circumstance that would have been 2 years now ago, and essentially what happened was we had to postpone the event, and we picked a new date. I think it was in April. So we will evaluate and monitor the situation as it gets closer. Being Tuesday, we do know that there's some special weather coming, I believe, kind of Wednesday evening, Thursday. So we'll kind of monitor closer to the date. We want to not be premature in our postponement, but also give exhibitors a heads up and not want people trekking into the event either through the snowstorm.
I guess we could discuss that when we're setting up Friday afternoon. That's something we should point out. We are setting up Friday afternoon at the New Dundee Community Center to get the tables and everything set up for Saturday morning, so that we don't have to do that on Saturday morning. So are we still doing that at 1 o'clock? Okay. Any other comments or questions about Heritage Day?
So just through you, Chair, just so I'm clear, often there's families that have lived in several spots over the years, and so which spot do you choose to put your pin in, and how?
We welcome them all. We want it to be as full as possible.
Okay, if there's no other questions or comments, we'll move on to the next item, which is the Castle Kilbride activities update. Sherry?
Well, every meeting, we like to update the committee with what the castle has been up to the previous month. And because we didn't have a meeting in January, this report covers both December and January. For December, of course, that's the staff's favorite time of year. We're fully decorated. We've got Herner's Victorian Village. We welcomed all kinds of schools and bus traffic through. And it turned out to be a really great month. On January 5th is when we closed for the season, and we also closed our Fabled exhibit. And we really want to thank Stephanie and the staff at the Stratford Festival Archives for lending us their incredible costumes for the year. It turned out to be a very, very popular exhibit, and they were actually supposed to pick up their costumes last Thursday, and they're supposed to come this Thursday, so we may have the costumes for a little bit longer. Yeah, and we also had some wonderful items that were donated in December and January. We had Susan kindly donated a family album, as well as some pieces that she brought in today. We had a 1923 Baden Band photo donated. We had some toys that were from like the 1950s. And then we had a lovely lady that called us saying that she had purchased a number of items at the 1988 auction, and she donated those back. They're 1930s dresses, and they're for Laura as well as her daughter Laura Louise. So we are super excited to go through those and accession those into the collection. We had Lily, our high school co-op student from WO. She finished on January 23rd. But the good news is that she has decided to come back and do a second term here. Yeah. So she had her first back today, and we're thrilled to welcome her. And yeah, she helped set up the Herners Victorian Village and helped take it down as well. And she's been a tremendous asset to us. So we are so thankful that she has returned. We've also submitted 2 grants for 2 summer students, one for Canada Summer Jobs and one for Young Canada Works. So we'll find out in early April if we were successful with those. Yes, and then looking ahead to 2025, our exhibit is going to be called Handcrafted Histories, and it's anywhere from artists from the township to crafts from A to Z. So it's going to be a very fun year, and we're looking forward to doing new things, like perhaps hosting a crafters market here in the summer months or leading up to Christmas. I just had a meeting with the seniors woodworking and the rug hookers as well, and they might come out to do potential demonstrations on weekends or at special events that we have. So we're looking forward to that. Are there any questions or comments?
How did this Christmas compare to last Christmas in terms of attendees, revenue, whatever?
So yes, so you'll see on the chart there that we were just down a little bit in numbers from the year previous, and we realized that we had just the way that Christmas fell during the middle of the week, that we didn't have that traffic coming through, and we're usually closed on Mondays. So we've planned for this year that we're going to be open the Monday and the Tuesday of those 2 weeks during the school holidays. So we always collect our data and make sure that we're staying on top of it and making sure that we are welcoming in the same amount of people, and if we haven't, where did we go wrong? And this past year, we started asking people how they heard about us, where they were coming from, whether it was their first visit, and if they knew about our special exhibit that we were hosting. And it was quite interesting to see. I mean, you always think that you know what your traffic is, and then when you start recording it, it's like, oh, okay, that's what you're coming in for. That's wonderful.
Sherry, do we have our ghost walks all signed up again for this year?
We do. We actually have our first one on Saturday night, so I'm really hoping that the weather coordinates as well. So for Ghost Walks, it is run by an independent company. They're out of the Hamilton, Niagara region, and this will be their 3rd year doing the walks here. So we started off with just 4, and then we ramped it up. Last year we had 22, and this year we're planning on 20. And so they coordinate everything. They sell the tickets, and they have their own ghost guides, and we welcome about 100 patrons each night.
Through you, Chair Al, in terms of the financials or benefit for that, is it exposure, is it revenue, is it a little bit of both, the ghost walks?
Oh, so we do collect revenue from that, and it works out to about $5 a person.
Sherry, since this group is from Hamilton, do they then publicize in that area of Hamilton?
They do, yes, and
Yes.
that's why we get the majority of people coming from all over, and that's why he was quite concerned about this weekend, because we've had people from Windsor, Sarnia, Niagara, Toronto, like they really do come from all areas for the evening.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, so I'll take a motion to approve the Castle Kilbride activities update. Need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Kirsten, seconded by Susan. All those in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Now, future meeting dates. So there's a schedule there. It's usually, I guess it basically works out to, in almost every case, I think, second Tuesday of the month. So put those in your calendar. I'll take a motion to approve that meeting schedule. Or are there some questions? Well, let's get a motion and then we can get our motion on the floor. Moved by Colleen, seconded by Stuart.
Just a question pertaining to summer months. I thought we didn't hold meetings in the summer.
So,
That's just Al.
yes, Al does go to his cottage. However, this is something I was going to touch on as well. These are essentially tentative.
Okay.
If we do have items, and this goes for the rest of the months as well, the entire year, we meet generally on an as-needs basis. If we have pressing matters that need to be discussed, we will meet. If we do not have agenda items or just like a brief activities update, generally we'll try and push that to the following month so that we don't come out here for a 5-minute meeting. So those dates have all been identified, just so you can put it as a placeholder in your calendar. As was stated, they are all generally the second Tuesday, with the exception of Remembrance Day falling on a Tuesday. So then we are set to meet on the 12th, which is a Wednesday, the second Wednesday, I think, of that month. Yeah, so again, put those in your calendars, but it is very likely that we may meet. I think last year we met 6 times. So could be less, could be more, could be the same. It really depends on the content that we have.
I think it's important to do that. I mean, I shouldn't talk, I'm not going to be here for 4 months, but if, an application comes forward, we don't want to unduly delay that. So we do have to have a meeting scheduled in case that business comes before us.
So that being said, could you walk us through what an application would look like? Because that's something new to me as well, as a member.
Well, I could try if I get this wrong, Cameron. In most cases would be dealing with one of our designated properties, and if somebody wanted to do some work, they have the heritage permit. Well, for the downtown and the hamburgers, we're almost, I'd say 90% of our requests have come from the Heritage Conservation District. I guess the most recent one being Heritage Pet and Garden, where they did some changes to the windows. And so they had to come here, or come to staff, and then had to come here to the committee to be approved. There might be other instances, but in most cases it's going to be dealing with properties that are either designated under Section 5 in the Hamburg, or individual properties designated under Section 4. Or if someone came and asked us if they wanted to have their property designated, and anybody out there, we're open for, we're wide open for designations. So hopefully that answers your question.
So again, I'm not against asking dumb questions.
No
So are we able to designate, or do we recommend the council to designate?
Yeah, you're correct. We would recommend to council, and council would be say yea or nay. And I can tell you that I don't think council has ever said nay, because I mean, that's yeah. Things are changing now because of changes at the provincial level, but in the past, things were, you know, the committee has always worked cooperatively with property owners. So we've always had good information coming to the committee and then in the recommendation that we pass on. You are correct. We do not, we just recommend. Anything else? Cameron?
If I could just add to that, you summarized it quite well, but just I guess we do have new members, so just to kind of highlight when things do come to the committee, we did set out in the previous term, we did identify what items do require heritage permit. So yeah, it's a demolition of a non-designated building, any alterations within the New Hamburg Conservation District, which is primarily comprised of the downtown in New Hamburg, so that would include someone wanting to put a sign up, any exterior modifications, so if someone's altering windows or anything that again would change the physical appearance of the building. Replacing of lighting or signage within the district as well, and then alterations to a designated building, those would all come to the committee. So essentially what that would look like is we meet with the property owner and they provide sketches of what they're looking to do. We would prepare a staff report, bring that to the committee, sometimes with options, and essentially look for an endorsement from this committee. And then they would proceed with the work, generally based on that endorsement. So we had 3 heritage permits that were processed in the last term, pretty much all in a relatively tight time frame together. We had a porch modification in the district. We had, as mentioned, Heritage Pet and Garden, and then we had a new sign for Heart and Home Creations. That was the most recent one. So they kind of, as they come up, we get them. And so again, as was mentioned, we would have a meeting so that we can expedite those so that they can get on with the modifications to the buildings.
Just to add, I guess the most recent large project that we did would have been the Waterlot restaurant. So all the plans for the addition of that came to this committee, and that was a rather interesting process because it went back and forth, and what was initially proposed did not happen, and we wound up with what's there now, which is, you know, I think most of the people have left, but would agree that it's a substantial improvement over the initial proposal. The owner changed architects, and we got a much more friendly, and I think it's going to be a nice addition to the downtown when it's completed. So we have a motion on the floor about the schedule. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. So the next item we have is announcements and information sharing. So this is an opportunity for members to share of any events that they know about coming up, heritage related or almost heritage related. So if anybody has anything that they want to mention, now is the time.
Just through you, Chair, and this is just asking about some of the projects, well, especially the bridge project of the previous one. Is that then those quote-unquote die on the order paper and then they have to come forward as this committee's project or whatever that we want to do. Is that how turnover committee happens?
Well, the majority of the subcommittees that existed lost all, or if not the majority of their members. So those committees essentially have lost their members. So in the committee information package, we did identify kind of the priorities for the committee, various different things, plaque program, walking tours. So what will occur at a subsequent meeting would be kind of bringing those forward again and seeking out interest from the committee on, you know, what they see as projects that they would like to move ahead with. And then ultimately, we would form subcommittees during a meeting. So long as the subcommittee doesn't represent a majority of members, and then they would move ahead with their tasks. And then the staff are here to support the subcommittee in their tasks, but ultimately, the committee members will work behind the scenes on some of these items and come back to the committee with updates and to staff members for assistance and things like that.
Yeah, I think I'm the only person left from the Bridge Subcommittee. But since that's a personal interest of mine, that's something I'll keep working on my own, even if we don't decide not to have a subcommittee. One thing this is a long-term announcement, but I want to make it tonight so we get tracking on it. This would be a future Heritage Day topic. The Huron Road is going to be celebrating its 200th anniversary. And so I'm thinking that's something that we should be thinking about and looking about, because it did play a vital role in the early years of the township, because that was our primary transportation route until the railway came in 1856. And I know other communities are looking at it, so that's something that we should be getting on our starting to think about. I'm not too sure what the year is off the top of my head, but it's coming up. 2 to 3 years, I think.
I do know the farm I operate, the deed came from the Crown. In response, you had to build the section of the road that abutted your farm, and you got 200 acres of land for doing that. And if you got water rights, where my grandfather had his sawmill, you got 100 acres because the water rights were deemed of value. So it's, and I did find a picture of the previous bridge over Alder Creek on the Huron Road, and a set of picture files that I certainly not the original bridge, but one of the ones from the early 1900s.
We're always looking for those. The Reicherts.
Yes, all kinds of them.
Yeah, they essentially built the Huron Road from Trussler Road to what we now call Queen Street.
And then they thought it was getting too busy, so they went up to Fordwich area and made the farms available to the rest of us.
Sorry. Any other announcements or anything that people wish to share? So our next meeting is March the 11th, but more importantly, we have Saturday, Heritage Day, and if you are able to come and help us on Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock, I know Susan's has to move that day, and sorry we're not going to be able to help you. we're going to be preoccupied. So do we need a motion to adjourn, or do we, okay. Unless there's any other business, I'll take a motion to adjourn. It's all over the place. Stuart and Colleen. All in favor? Thank you.